Every time I think of forgiveness, every time I speak of my ability or inability to forgive, I am closely speaking, first, the ability I have to reconcile with me. Because if I do not reconcile with me, if you do not reconcile with you, we will hardly be able to reconcile with others. To forgive is to reconcile. I need to forgive me, Fabio, who didn't realize many things. You need to forgive you, the woman, the man, who so often has not been able to fulfill what was asked. To forgive is that you live reconciled with you. It is the first instance of all forgiveness. In fact, the instance of all human reality originates in each of us. This is not an egocentric thought. It is not an irresponsible form of understanding reality. No. Whenever you want to understand the world, understand yourself. Whenever you have the desire to look at a particular reality, see, and you, I. We need to do the same scene daily. Put the table or bed where you feel more comfortable. The phases of life. Self-knowledge is that. It is you to have the opportunity to know who you were as a child. What were your fears? What were the first difficult times in your history? Who was on your side? What did you hear from these people? What traumatized him at that time? What he released at that time? Everything we have been to have known, because sometimes we want to forgive it today. But we do not have the authority to forgive. And you will understand this. Psychology teaches us this. What is trauma? It is a reality that does not fit within us. Trauma is every event that our emotion or emotional ability is not able to solve at that time. Of course, in childhood, I say, because we do not have the filters of maturity, the filters of intelligence, discernment, common sense. We are much more easily traumatized than in adulthood. Today, when you suffer a loss, when you suffer an offense, a betrayal, you have emotional resources that help you get out of it. You have friends who come, tell you, invite you to leave. You have the resources of your profession. You take something to do, will occupy your mind, will try to rebuild the fact within you, and you follow. I know the formula is not magic, and if it were, we wouldn't believe her. I never believed in magic formulas. But this formula is effective. If you choose to forgive, as hard as it may be, if you choose to tear from yourself, your mind, harmful, damaged feelings that so often generate your conduct, your way of thinking, speaking, and feeling, you will get a beautiful result. This new version of yourself will come much easier. This is what I wish, from the bottom of my heart, that you remain unprecedented to yourself, for yourself, seeking in your daily life, thinking the realities that still need to be forgiven people, who still need to be reinterpreted so that everything that ceases to be a hindrance in your personal fulfillment. Of course, everything we see from outside is just a part. It's just a detail of the whole that person is. When we are facing a person, we have no idea what was part of their story. Everything that was metabolized, well-lived, forgotten, or put in a place of memory that helps us. But we have no idea either how many failures that person carries in himself. How many sufferings? How many fights? How many fights? I never had the understanding of destiny in my life or in the life of those who passed me. I always like to understand as a freedom process that sometimes appears to me more easily. But I am free to choose. I choose what makes me wrong. I choose what makes me good, and the destination we build like this. Adriana. We have no control of everything. But we know that the more conscious we are, the more our intuition is open. And this is a fruit of spirituality. You have your most dilated intuition. We call it a state of presence, which is when you are really where you are. You are. You have people's perception. You can know if that person is good or not, whether this is good for you or not. So, This warning state is the first step for our choices to be more favorable. So I think living is always a choice. I don't have control of what I choose, but I do everything to choose well because I know that when I choose well, the return of it is more favorable. The more we will understand each other, the more we become free, even to come to the conclusion that taking this weight is not intelligent. Why is sometimes so difficult for you to convince a person to throw the grudge away? Because the person who needs to decide is not yet adult. Today, we can see. Who needs to be convinced is the girl who was once injured, who was one day hurt, who was once abandoned, who was once betrayed. Yes, it is the phases of our lives that we need to dive into the waters of forgiveness. Sometimes I find myself with some people I was talking to my life with, and they try to remember what happened. I have, thank God, a short memory for what was not good. How was it? Why did we fight? What was the reason? I do not remember more. Maturity signed. Sign that who left send me, who stopped giving me orders. Is the child. Could you say, Father? Is it only possible when I do a therapy? No. Therapy is even a very important moment of this process. But I have learned, and it is for me, spiritual life, which has nothing to do with religion. Spiritual life is not a privilege of religious. Spiritual life is all that inspires me. Everything that blows within me. That keeps me up well. And human research, the search for itself, is the most beautiful exercise of spiritual life. Every time I try to know myself, every time I try to investigate myself, that I pass these life stages trying to understand. How do I do that? Talking to my mother, talking to my father, with my older brothers, with whom he saw me at a time when I was not yet able to see myself. When the process is very unconscious, sometimes one does not know that they are doing it too. Sometimes that difficulty we can identify today, as I said at the beginning. I look at you, and I see the woman you have become. But I have no idea who commands you. When I have a part of me that was not properly healed by forgiveness, when I did not reconcile with it, I had to be very tamed for it. And sometimes this is a form that has already become conscious. So the person he knows she feels that way, and she thought it comfortable feeling that way, because that way she can get people's attention. It requires loss, right? It requires knowing how to lose. So okay, I'll give up this poor thing that I am. This boy who is all the time crying, asking for attention. Consequently, I get more in the need to act, to make decisions. This week, Adriana, I was talking about not much to do. But I will bring because it is a way to explain how many times we are commanded by the child we are. I say I have a deep love for architecture. I love a beautiful house. I love a beautiful church. A beautiful theater. But I started to note that when we adults, we sat with the architects to do a project of our home. Who sits with them is usually the needy children who are still in need of many square meters to feel good in life, and they swim in the arm. Because then they build huge houses that will give us a terrible maintenance, and we will use a few square meters of that environment, but in fact a very large house, to huge doors, with huge rooms that can house 70 families inside. I say little fruit of the immature child's decision within us. Because if I were, of course, I may well be free and want a big house. But then it is the adult who is deciding. It is not the needy child who has never had anything and now has, who needs to show others that she is powerful, which she rose in life, that she has overcome poverty. No. Wow, that's what I'm saying. A job we need to do with many. And I do this with me all the time. And many people who come to me for a spiritual direction. That's it. Have the courage to recognize in you what it is comfortable to keep. There are people, I think those who watch us know very well what we are talking about, discovered the state of victim as a comfortable place, because it is from that state of victim that it catches the attention of people. But that is not living. This is semi-life. To live is to be free from it. Even when you want to make a charm, draw someone's attention, you are free and aware of it. Look, I'll make a charm here to get my husband's attention today, or my boyfriend, my girlfriend. It's even free to decide this. But when this is an unconscious process, it is a lot of suffering, because the person has that posture and does not know exactly how to change it. So we, in the experience of forgiving and being forgiven, I have no doubt, those who forgive, although the voice is the man of today, who is really forgiving is the child who still needs to draw attention to his pain, to his trauma, to his sufferings. When I can, through reflection of understanding, enter into agreement with these faces and say, everything is right. Life owes me nothing. It's all right. I need to forgive to follow.